Thank you for joining us on At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson, and we're going to be talking with a couple of mayors today. We usually like to get updates from the area mayors, and this time we go to McLean County and our annual, or sometimes even twice annual visit with the mayor of Normal, Chris Koos. Thank you, as always, for being with us.
It's always a pleasure.
How many years have we been doing this?
12.
12, and then not so many years with Terry Renner. Terry's the mayor of Bloomington. Thank you, Terry, for being with us.
Thank you. Only a year and a half on my end.
Okay. Let's start with Terry, because you don't have a downtown hotel in Bloomington. You do have the Coliseum, U.S. Cellular Coliseum. So it kind of surprises me, if you have that kind of an amenity, you don't have a downtown hotel. But you're hopeful that you might have one here. How hopeful can we be?
Well, obviously, I'm very hopeful, and as a mayor, I have to be optimistic in boosting my city. But you're absolutely right. The Coliseum is, to some degree, kind of like an island. It's not achieving its full potential. And the same thing with our downtown. We're one of the few cities in the entire Midwest that has 80,000 people, but you can't rent a single hotel room in our downtown. So I think we're very close. We're probably going to, maybe in sometime in December, send out a letter of interest. But I think we're really close to coming up with a really complicated deal. Unfortunately, these things are quite complicated. Had we not received $250,000 since we were last on here to fill in a funding gap for a Route 66 visitor center in the first floor of the History Museum, we would have not had a chance at really attracting a high-end hotel in downtown Bloomington.
As a matter of fact, I want to continue the discussion about the hotel, but Greg Koos, your brother,
yes.
but heads up the museum.
That's correct.
He's a big booster of this hotel.
Absolutely, and I'm glad. He's also someone who's a big booster of downtown. He had been the president of the Downtown Bloomington Association about 6-7 years ago, and so absolutely, and Greg's really been active in helping to promote this Route 66 Visitor Center, and I think it will not just help our downtown, but frankly both communities. We haven't gotten our share of the Route 66 visitors dollars. If you use the keyword Route 66 in international travel Google searches, it happens significantly more often than Chicago. So right now people drive from Pontiac and they go to Atlanta, Illinois, and they bypass us. We're going to change that in both Bloomington and Normal.
So back to the hotel, you need a hotel if you're going to have people stopping by there or using U.S. Cellular. Funding mechanism. How are you going to fund this?
Well, essentially, we need to make sure that it's a private hotel, to make it clear that it will be private investment, but we're going to need to establish a TIF district that rebates, in a sense, some of the fruits of the investors, cash that they've put into the building, perhaps rebate some hotel, motel, restaurant tax, maybe for up to 15 or 20 years. But right now, on the probable site, we've got a vacant building that's crumbling, that's a fire hazard.
The front and center building.
Right, the front and center, but we're not getting anything on that building in terms of sales tax or hotel motel tax revenues. So essentially we would be rebating taxes from the proceeds of the investment that wouldn't have happened in the absence of someone coming forward.
So the TIF district would have to be created?
TIF district would have to be created, and again, probably rebating hotel motel restaurant taxes for some period of time, and then we may need to have possibly issue a revenue bond that would be paid for by the TIF, but there would be no net cost to taxpayers in Bloomington. We're not taking money out of the city's treasury to make this happen. And frankly, this is going to be huge. It's not just huge for our downtown, but it's huge, I think, for our entire region. And if we have more acts at the Coliseum, and then we'll have less red ink in the Coliseum, we'll have more money to spend on roads and other things. And also, if we have a high-end hotel, conference center, restaurant on that location, it will also help improve the property values of the entire area. And so hopefully it will help District 87 as well as our entire community. So I think this is huge to have a downtown hotel.
And we turn to Uptown Normal, and you've got, or will have, 2 major hotels in Uptown Normal.
We currently have the Marriott Hotel, which is doing quite well, and we will have a Hyatt Place Hotel across the street from that. We see that the developers see that there's a market for additional hotels. There's somewhat of a symbiotic relationship that can exist between the Marriott and the Hyatt Place, because the Marriott doesn't have enough rooms to support the conferences that they could have. They have quite a large conference center and have had to turn down some conferences over the years because of not enough rooms. And so this will help them in that regard.
And the Hyatt is under construction.
Currently under construction, likely to be finished June.
And there is actually, how sure are you that there'll be a phase 2 of that?
Fairly sure. We're working with the developer on that right now. In terms of our TIF contribution to the project. It's still difficult to finance urban residential, but we're confident that it will go forward.
And that would be apartments, or?
It would be apartments with ground floor retail, likely a high-end restaurant.
I want to turn back to Bloomington and downtown, because last spring when you were on the program you said that downtown is your primary focus.
Right, downtown and our older neighborhoods, because I think it's really clear that in the 21st century we're not going to achieve our full economic growth potential if we continue to just build strip malls. Right? That might have been a model of the 60s and 70s, maybe even 80s. That's not the case for the future. So we need to be asking ourselves, what do we want Bloomington to look like? Do we want to invest in our cultural historic core? And that's what's really essential.
And I'll blow my own horn here a little bit too. I think Uptown Normal success has proven that people want that urban uptown downtown experience, and downtown Bloomington has such great bones to build off on that. It just makes total sense.
Right, and then we just need to have the political will on the part of our council to move forward with some really important, exciting decisions that we have coming forward.
Then what role does Austin Grammer play in this? He just starts as the downtown economic, or not downtown necessarily, but economic development coordinator.
Correct.
And you have, prior to about 2 years ago, you didn't even have that position in Bloomington.
That's correct. And it's also, for a city our size, we should at least have an economic development coordinator, perhaps even a director. And that's really important, especially with working with McLean County and Chris and Normal. We all want to make sure that we, frankly, get more than our share of the economic growth as the recovery proceeds.
Let's stay on structures for the topic.
Sure.
Broadview Mansion. Why, I don't mean this to be a critical question, but why on earth would a community decide that it was going to cover the maintenance costs of a historic building?
The mansion is run by a group called the Emmanuel Bible Foundation, and frankly they were seeing the cost of maintaining that property was eating into their endowment, and they came to a decision that they had to sell the property. We came up with the idea, actually David Strand and Mark Peterson got together and talked about this idea of the town getting involved, and as we engaged the council on that and feedback from the community, people realized that it's cultural and architectural jewel to the community. It's really an iconic structure in the community, and people recognize it as part of Normal. It's a defining element for Normal. So we felt it was appropriate to enter into an agreement to keep that property as it sits. Now we will, it will likely be programmed more than it is now, where there'll be more tours through the property and small group gatherings in the property, but it's amazing. You should go see it sometime. I've
been outside, but I haven't been inside.
It's encapsulated in time.
It's the house on Fell Street.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's back to the 1920s. All the original furniture is there, the millwork, and everything is pristine. Right down to the dishes and the silver service for the dining room. It's all there.
So if Normal had not stepped in, what might happen?
Had we not stepped in, it likely would have gone to a private sale. And every scenario that we could, actually the foundation heard about from residential realtors, and that would be that anybody who bought that property would likely tear down the bell tower, which is a significant structure in itself, and would likely subdivide the property. And we felt that that was not something we wanted to see happen in our community.
Right. The cost to Normal is on an annual basis?
Oh, $50,000 to $70,000 a year. And actually, that's part of an agreement that at such time as the foundation did not want to own that building or would dissolve in the next 20 years, the town would have first right to buy that property, and the dollars we invest in the maintenance would amortize the cost of that property.
Historic preservation in Bloomington.
I think, absolutely. I would want to applaud my colleague Chris Coos for this. I mean, that's really critical. We have lost so many buildings in both Bloomington and Normal over the years, and these all our older neighborhoods and many of our symbols and our downtown, uptown are the things that separate us from other communities. So again, they're not just our culture, historic core. It's what separates us and in a sense labels us. So absolutely, we have not been as proactive as I think we should have been over the last generation or so in historic preservation in Bloomington. But if I have anything to say about it, and now I do, we're going to be much more so in the future.
You have at least one vote.
Well, and I also have a veto, and I have a voice, and so those are the important things.
Let's talk about transportation, because we've been talking about hotel, the U.S. Cellular Coliseum, Broadview, et cetera, uptown Normal, bringing people here. High-speed rail's been delayed.
It's been delayed by 3 or 4 months in terms of the construction project. They had hoped to get in and add a second track through Normal, which would allow trains coming in opposite directions an ability to pass each other, which they can't do now. You know, they have to stop somewhere in the middle of the country and let a train come by. It's become an increasingly more important transportation asset in our community. The ridership continues to rise, and so we're very hopeful that it's a slight delay, but it's not what I'd call a significant delay.
I might point out that Normal Station is the second busiest in the state of Illinois, but ridership in Illinois is down on all 3 major routes, to Quincy, to Carbondale, to St. Louis. It's down 3 to 5% on those routes. Are you concerned about that in terms of looking at your vision of high-speed rail, Chicagoans coming down, visiting Bloomington sites, visiting Normal sites?
Not really, because I think that, you know, as the more I began to understand passenger rail, speed is one issue, but frequency of trips and on-time performance are really more important than speed. And as they work through these issues with the double track system that's coming through these communities and that, the fact that we'll have 18 trains a day coming through that community, through our train station, that kind of frequency makes it easier for people to make a decision to take a train.
Budget. Mm-hmm. $500,000 been earmarked for pension costs. That increases the tax levy, and we're going to get into a discussion of the difference between tax levy and tax rate, so we all understand, but that increases a $500,000 increase in the tax levy. You didn't have much of a choice in your estimation?
Well, at this point, we did pass a really bold pension policy last November, and that was something that I wanted the council to step forward and identify how they were going to pay for this bold pension policy. They didn't. They said that they would do it during the budget process. Well, we didn't do it in the budget process. We had to go back and forth a couple times with some veto threats to finally get it done, but we only did part of it. So this is a significant chunk. We're going to earmark this for our police fire pensions, and that gets us through almost all of our tough years. Of the next 5 years are the difficult years, and this should get us through almost through year 4. So we're not waiting for Springfield. We're going to make sure that we take care of our police and fire pensions in Bloomington, and I think we should be a model for other cities to follow.
And are you looking at last spring we talked about the possibility of a utility tax increase. There was one, not quite what you wanted.
Right, we we're about half the rate of Normal. It's the only tax that we're lower than Normal on, and I wanted to propose to increase it to the level of Normal so there would be no competitive disadvantage, and then earmark that money for pensions. Had we done that, we pretty much would be fine for the next 30 years. I mean, that would have done most of the heavy lifting for both police and fire pensions. And again, keep in mind, we have to fund these. Right? Sometimes people don't understand that. Why don't you just make police officers work to 65? Well, I mean, I don't know that I really want a 65-year-old police officer on the beat, but even if that were an option, we can't do it. The state mandates it. So these are police and fire pensions we have to fund. And at this point, last year, we only got halfway there. We did 1.25%, which amounted to about $3.50 per household that were geared toward police fire pensions.
On the utility tax.
On the utility tax. Had we gone the whole $7, we pretty much would be fine for the next generation.
Let's clarify what this all means to the bottom line of the budget.
Correct.
A $500,000 increase in the levy, what's that mean to the tax rate Bloomington's, the city of Bloomington's portion of the tax rate?
The average taxpayer will see their tax bill go down, the city of Bloomington's, by about $1.25. And that's based on a $170,000 home. So it might go down a little more if you own a $250,000 home, and a little less if you own a $110,000 home. So the reason why we're getting about $500,000 more in revenue is mainly because of new construction. And so we're earmarking that new revenue, if you will, for pensions to make sure that as we move forward, we're going to try to be as fiscally responsible as possible.
Budget scenarios for Normal? We had a slight increase in our levy, and will affect the rate. We feel that again, it is slight, but it is an increase. On a $165,000 home, it'll increase the tax burden by about $8 a year. And all of that, again, goes to fund police and fire pensions. Our funds are pretty stable. We're in better shape than most municipalities in the state of Illinois, but you know, it's always something that we keep an eye on. And we know that after this election, whoever the new governor is and what the legislature looks at, they've got some tough issues to deal with financially, and it's always our concern at the municipal level that they're gonna look to us for some dollars.
It's our concern too, just to say. Yeah. and Chris and I both have, we both, you know, we may be two cities, but we're one community, and we have some of the same issues. You know, we're having our sales taxes are flat or maybe even slightly declining, and yet our costs are going up. I mean, the inflation rate's only about 2%, but we have to pay more for everything. And it is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, city services are not immune from inflation. And there are many people, even if you just have an inflationary increase in taxes, who get all upset. But at the end of the day, there really are no free lunches. And especially at the local level, you know what you're getting. We don't always know what we're getting for our federal taxes or for state taxes, but we don't give grants to anybody else to do our work for us. We deliver services. So it's police, fire, 911, public works. So you know what you're getting for your local government tax dollars. And again, neither Chris or I can wave a magic wand. We're not given false promises. We're going to tell people this is what it is, this is what we're going to do as we move forward.
You mentioned fire, so let's talk about a couple of things that we discussed last spring on this program. Firehouse. Both of you discussed the possibility of looking at a mutual firehouse or a joint firehouse or
yes,
some configuration thereof. But that's important to you in the northeast side of your city.
Absolutely, and that's where we have some pretty poor response times, and that is, in fact, they're just unacceptable. We have to deal with them. We should have 90% of our emergency calls for service 6 minutes or less. In some areas, we're at 9 minutes. And particularly the northeast part of Bloomington and the southwest part of Bloomington. Now, the place where we have commonality with Normal is in the northeast part of Bloomington, where we both have some of the similar issues. And so whether it would be a common facility or how it might, maybe one side builds it and staffs it and we just have a contract with them, I don't know what that would be, but we're still in negotiations because we do have a common problem here.
So not much progress since last spring on that issue?
There really isn't. You know, we did a realignment strategy on our fire stations and have a plan in place to actually relocate all 3 of our fire stations. And we're doing the first one now, the oldest fire station, which is on Adelaide Street in Normal, really in terrible shape. And so we're working on that one. The next station will be the northeast station. So, you know, there's still an opportunity for discussion on this and to do something. You know, Terry and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and he said, is this a possibility? And it's like, until we've dug a hole in the ground, it's always a possibility, and we'll keep that discussion
and then
going.
We've just an added complication. One of our department heads is just left, and that's Mike Kimmerling. And Mike was an outstanding fire chief, and it's unfortunate that he's leaving. That the relationship that he's had, of course, with Normal's fire chief has been very strong. Now we're going to have to choose someone else and then begin that process of rebuilding trust, because frankly, the city of Bloomington historically has not been a partner that you can trust. And we're trying to rebuild that trust with our intergovernmental partners and with our citizens.
And another issue we talked about last spring was the U.S. Cellular Coliseum parking deck.
Correct.
Parts of it were closed down. You still haven't finished that. That's not totally resolved.
It's not totally resolved, but it should be by Thanksgiving. And we have a special meeting where we're going to be examining some of the possibilities. We may be able to save a little more money than even we thought before. Once you start getting into it and you even go beyond the x-rays and you realize, oh wow, there are some ways we might be able to cut corners and not sacrifice safety once you're actually in it. So we had the most conservative estimates moving forward. But this is another thing, the contract for the U.S. Coliseum and the building of it was just, frankly, a disaster. It did not protect the city very well, and these are one of the many messes that we still have. As we move forward, our contracts are going to protect our citizens. We've got a new legal service, a new legal team, and that's really important, has been an important change among many in the city.
It seems like every time I have the two of you on, we talk about water. Most importantly for Bloomington, you're fairly well set with your wells.
We are.
You depend on 2 lakes. It's okay right now, but in times of drought, that's not so good. So has there been any discussion about a joint effort or maybe you tapping into the aquifer outside of your city limits?
Right. Well, I mean, that's what would have to happen because there's nowhere in the corporate limits of Bloomington that we could drill to tap in the Mahomet Aquifer. So we didn't have to have some kind of relationship as normal established years ago to go presumably to the western part of McLean County. And at this point, I don't want us to be dependent on drought-like conditions to produce a crisis before we act. We need to be proactive. We need to be on top of this. And so Chris and I have certainly talked about it, and we were both involved, even though we don't get any of our water from the Mahomet Aquifer, in the mayoral coalition that went to Quinn's office and said, you've got to stop the situation in Clinton. And to the governor's credit, he did.
And that's really where a lot of our focus has been recently on water, is the issue of toxic waste disposal over the Mahomet Aquifer. We're very concerned about that. The primary material would be PCBs, and we're very concerned about those leaching into the aquifer. And if that does, that seriously affects the drinking water of close to 800,000 people in central Illinois. So a lot of our efforts have been to stop that permit from going forward. And currently the governor has said you can't do that, but it's going to go through the process again.
Right, and then obviously Bloomington, we had a vested interest, not just because we want to be a good neighbor and that this seemed disastrous public policy, but in the long run we'd like to be on tapping the Mahomet Aquifer so the 800,000 would go to about 880,000 in the long term.
And for clarification, that proposed landfill would be in Clinton, Illinois. PDC is the petitioner. In the brief time that we have remaining, long term, let's look long term. As mayors, what would you want to accomplish?
Well, I think in the long term for the community as a whole, and I think Terry's going to say the same thing, because we're joined at the hip, literally, that creating an environment in our community that is friendly to new business, is encouraging and nurturing to innovative businesses, because we know that the long-term viability of our economic development in the community is hinged on that. You know, the days of going to General Electric and say, build a plant in my community are gone. Business growth is happening organically in communities, and we have a huge brain drain every year when we graduate 6,000 or 7,000 students from Illinois State University, and they leave our community. So we're working to create a community where those people will want to stay and live and work in our community. So attracting millennials to our community, making it a place where they say, yeah, I could live here and start a business. That's really what we're focusing on.
I absolutely couldn't agree more with Chris on that. Absolutely. Economic development for the future and making sure that we can be quick and decisive. When Chris and I went out to Los Angeles a little over a year ago to try to make the case to expand, come to Bloomington and Normal, we would say, hey, don't go to a distant suburb of Chicago. Come to us. You're going to be an hour and a half from the Loop anyway. Come 2 hours away, and we've got the lowest crime rate. We've got great financial institutions where we can work with you. And the one of the things that they asked us is, what have you got to offer millennials? And the other thing they asked us is, how quick can you move on incentives and permits? And so we've got to make sure that we are open to business and for business and that we make it clear that we mean business in Bloomington and Normal. So absolutely.
And as true Southern Californians, they ask, what are you going to do about that snow issue?
Can't do too much about that.
Last year it was over 50 inches, but normally you get about 20, 25 inches.
Right.
So
That's right.
Remind them of that. Yeah. And with that, I want to thank both of you.
Sure, thank
to
you.
Chris Coos, the
Thank you.
mayor of Normal, Illinois. Thank you so much for
It's always a pleasure
being with
to
us.
be here.
And Terry Renner, Bloomington's mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, H.
And next week we'll be back with you. This time we're going to be talking with some state legislators with the election results finalized soon, or actually by the time this airs it will have been finalized. We'll talk about legislators' view of what might happen in Springfield with the new legislature. And we'll do that in 1 week. Please join us then. Thanks.